Sagittarius, this is your forecast for the month of March 2019. This is a general reading for Sagittarius Sun, Sagittarius Rising, or Sagittarius Moon. For a more rounded overview, please watch your rising and moon sign as well. So Sagittarius, this first week of March, you are trying to gain an advantage with regard to something. It could be that you've been struggling and you're trying to maintain your position. You're trying to make something happen. And that may mean that you have to stand up for yourself against opposition, or there's something that you're facing where maybe there's stiff competition. You're trying to beat the odds with regard to something. So there's some kind of obstacle or challenge that you have to overcome, and it may require you find the courage to step out there and take a risk, to stand your ground in order to push through. In fact, you may be very aggressive or defiant or standing in your own conviction with regard to something. And so you may be involved in some kind of conflict or situation where something is going to come to a head. You're going to have to assert yourself, and you're going to be clear about your stance and what you're doing. Maybe you're involved in some kind of negotiations or some kind of discussions that are important to you. And this is a week where it's going to be important for you to adapt to changing circumstances. Otherwise, you may stay stuck in something that's upsetting to you. This is a week that allows you to make some beneficial changes in your relationship. There could be some kind of breakthrough that gives you an advantage. You may come up with a brilliant idea or gain some insight or sudden inspiration with regard to something. You could be involved with something where it suddenly takes off. Or some of you may have to defend yourself or stand up for yourself. There's some kind of unexpected news or a visitor that you're dealing with. And it may be that people are making a lot of demands on you. They are asking your advice or for you to help them or for your insight or your assistance. And because of that, you're having to change your schedule or how you're going to do something. You're going to have to reconsider what's important to you and what your priorities are. And you're going to have to be very savvy this week in how you deal with others, because the name of the game is to try to get what you want, to influence others, bring people to your side, rally the troops around you. And you're going to have to be inspirational or motivational in what you do in order to make people, come to your side. So you're going to have to take a non-threatening approach. And perhaps you're trying to inform others where they're falling short. You're going to have to do it in a way where they don't feel like you're judging them. This could also be a week where you feel like you're dancing the dance. Maybe you are losing the battle, or maybe you're being overcome by someone, or you're facing something that just feels too great, a mountain that's too high to climb, and you may end up feeling overwhelmed. And you may give up on something. It could be that you have some indecision or some uncertainty or some losses. Maybe you decide you want to retreat from some form of confrontation. It may be to the point that you end up running away from your problems. There's some anxiety for some of you that you're dealing with, where you have a fear about something, whether it's rejection or the future, and you may lose your nerve about moving forward. There could be a missed opportunity because of that. Some of you, you're trying to gain an advantage over a health issue. But again, a lot of demands being made on you, and you may feel like you are running around, trying to please people, trying to be this, trying to do that, and yet it's never enough. You never fulfill what is expected of you, and it makes you feel like a victim, like you're always falling short. But it could be that you need to shift how you look at something, that being unyielding is creating your own unhappiness. Now, by all means, if you have to stand up for yourself and deal with an adversary, have the courage to do so. But be careful of taking your frustrations out on the wrong people. This may be a week where you have to reconsider your position. Now, the second week you have fire energy. This could very well be you, or it could be another Sagittarius, an Aries, or Leo. Could be you're dealing with a young person in this instance. But this is a week where you could be getting some kind of exciting news, something that makes you look forward to the future. Or you may be gaining an advantage by taking some form of action that is future oriented. This is another week of being enterprising, being courageous, being passionate about what you're doing. You could be doing something creative or inspirational. You may be acting as a teacher. You may be getting some information. You are pushing an idea. For some of you, this may mean a new acquaintance or a message from far away. The unexpected could be happening this week. So there's something where you have to act that connects to the future, new possibilities that require you to do something. Could be a new idea, a new attitude, maybe an educational situation, something that you want to promote in some way. And so you're going to have to make some small changes this week. But those small changes are going to make a big difference for the better, either in your current relationship, in your social attitude, or your environment. So for some of you, there's going to be something extended, perhaps an invitation. Maybe you're going to take a short trip, or you're going to go to something, a small gathering where you become the focus of attention. Other people recognize you for your skills, for your talent. They're attracted to you. And maybe you're better at something than you imagined, and you discover that. You may be trying to gain an advantage and take some action that will lead to some freedom for you. Could be freedom from what you normally do. Maybe you're breaking out of your routine, or you're feeling more optimistic due to circumstances that are moving you forward, as if you can do whatever. You feel some form of exhilaration. On the other hand, some of you are trying to gain some advantage over some bad news, and specifically tied again to that indecision, some instability, feeling powerless, some inconsistencies that may be occurring right now. So something could be unstable. Somebody may be very domineering, and you may be taking action to let go and move on. You may feel that your connection to somebody has changed. And maybe you can't even quite pinpoint what that change is, but it's changing in small ways that make you feel uncomfortable. And you don't know when this started to happen. You don't know, what that crossroads was. There's a loss as to how to explain why you've ended up in this position with another person or a situation. Now, the third week, you have a major card. And for some of you, this would be a strong Saturnian influence. Maybe somebody who is older, or this could be some parental concerns. This could be a week of heavy responsibility or challenges that you have to deal with. And something is coming full circle, and you're closing out some type of cycle. And the focus is on winning, gaining that advantage, achieving. It may be that you are optimistic. You have satisfactorily reached some kind of goal. You may be very motivated. Maybe you're dealing with the world at large. Maybe you're considering some world travel or something to do with international affairs. You may be dealing with foreigners in some way. This is a week of closing some things out and taking stock about what you got out of it. So you may, again, attain something. You could reach your goal, get a prize, feel as if you've got some success because you did a good job with something. If this is health, you are trying to gain an advantage over your physical or emotional health or the environment. But you're making some small changes. Maybe you're going to change your job or your residence, or you're closing something out that you put a lot of time into. It could be you're graduating from something, or you're moving something to the next level. You're expanding your horizons in some way. And because this is about culmination and limitations, you have to look at where maybe you've been constricted and try to gain an advantage over that, or where you've been limited in some way. It's also recognizing your own limitations. You may need to say no to some things, especially if people are making a lot of demands on you. You may need to say no to what is beyond your ability. But this is a week that holds the seed for potential. Something is ending, so something else can begin. And this could be a week of fresh starts. You get a second chance at something. And you may be very motivated to make those important changes in any bad habits. It could be social skills, it could be education, it could be, where you haven't been taking care of your health, or you've been involved in codependent relationships. This could be a week where you recognize how maybe you've been limiting yourself and you want to make some changes. You want to do things that are good for you. And this is a great week for starting something new, for changing the way you look at something, changing your life in some way that's important. And again, even those small changes are going to make a big impact for your future, whether that's your health, you're changing your diet, you're exercising more, you're making changes in the way you work, or changing your job or your relationship. And this is a week to be motivated by having greater compassion for yourself. You may be very hard on yourself. You may be putting a real high bar out there, and you have to accept what is beyond your capability, and it's okay. You also have to forgive other people for their shortcomings so that you can make this fresh start without carrying old baggage into your new future. It's a week of self-initiative, motivating yourself, being a self-starter, and you could very well come across some fortunate business, social, or romantic connections or opportunities that are going to help you. This could be a great week to be super motivated about upholding your decisions, new resolutions that are going to help you enjoy life, especially if you feel good about yourself and what you're doing. If you feel confident in you, you will be able to bring people over to your side, even opponents, and you're going to be able to do it in a positive way. You're bringing opportunity to you by being your best self. And if you've had any challenges, medically, physically, legally, otherwise, you could make great strides this week. In fact, you're going to be getting some messages. Could be some revelations that come to you from unexpected or hidden sources. Could be greater self-awareness about where you need to make some changes, how you can gain an advantage. It may come through your intuition or spirit messages, or simply by doing more listening to your inner heart. But for some of you, it's difficult to launch something and move in a better direction because there's a habit of falling back in a rut. You may feel as if you're stagnating, that you're not meeting standard. You may be obsessed with your own imperfections. Could be that there's a delay in your success, or you can't seem to wrap up a cycle due to some unfinished business that leads you to frustration or more obstacles, loose ends to deal with. And it could be that, there's a fear that you have of change, of commitment, and not following through, and lacking confidence, maybe quitting too soon. Again, the Seven of Wands could say, you're facing something that feels too daunting, and maybe you just want to give up. You're losing your nerve. There's a resistance to what's happening. For some of you, it means that travel may be postponed, or you've got a little bit farther to go. So you could be grappling with your insecurities this week, and you may be tempted to overextend yourself. Maybe you try to self-medicate by, spending money, or overextending yourself in some way, or pushing some emotional boundaries by being too defiant or stuck in the way that you're thinking. Maybe you're taking a risk that is too daring, or you're doing something devious that makes people feel uncomfortable or uneasy. Whatever you fail to start for the right reason, regardless of how you've envisioned it, it's not really going to get off the ground. So this is about, in the most positive sense, having enthusiasm, achieving something, having a sense of fulfillment, being successful, wrapping some things up, closing some business out. In the negative, this is about perhaps being intolerant of others. There's a call to connect in ways where maybe you're dealing with people who are very different than you, culturally, ethnically, their belief system, socially, financially, whatever it is. You're going to have to reconcile those differences and have compassion for something outside of yourself. Now, the last week, you're ending on this Ten of Swords. And, of course, many people hate this card. It means that you've hit rock bottom in some cases. But if that's the case, you have nowhere to go but up. Could be that you've suffered some kind of loss. If this is a health issue, maybe it's a serious health issue, or there's surgery required, or there's some back pain, or there's some kind of danger or threat that you're dealing with. Maybe you've been long suffering for a while. So this is about being a survivor. You may be under threat in some way, and you're trying to gain an advantage over that. But it could very well be something that's in your mind, a victim mentality, taking on some martyrdom and feeling a sense of failure. Maybe you lost your position somehow, your fortune, your honor, your standing. Maybe you've experienced some form of betrayal. People have stabbed you in the back. Maybe people are talking about you behind your back. And maybe you've lost your nerve. You want to quit. It's just too hard, and you want to give up the struggle and surrender your will. It could be that it's time to let go of something. You may be under some form of distress. Maybe you're separating, or you're divorced, or you're dealing with some kind of hardship. But I don't have an issue with this card, because many times this card shows up when it's the end of a situation that needed to close out. It's the end of something that's negative. This could be a week where you feel overwhelmed because either everything is happening too quickly or nothing is moving at all. And so you feel very burdened by the weight of a situation. And that may affect you physically, mentally, emotionally. But you need to realize that that success of the World card is very much so within your grasp. You could be rounding the corner. The clouds could be clearing. You may be at the end of a negative cycle. And it's important to keep a positive outlook, especially if you've dealt with a recent loss or a setback. Getting your attitude back on track and in the right place is important. This is a period to get up and try one more time. Give it a go. Face whatever duties or responsibilities that are before you, because whatever's happening, whether you had a failure, a delay, a challenge to deal with, in fact, it was an opportunity. It's giving you a second chance to look at something. And now you know better. You know where the flaws are. You know how maybe you need to change course. There's some revelation that comes to you this week that gives you a new perspective. You get some new information, or you understand yourself better, or you realize how you need to think outside of the box. And so now you recognize some things you didn't know before, and you can take a better course of action for yourself that will enable you to succeed and maybe even go bigger and better than you had expected. But for others of you, you are giving up, you're giving out. You're going to have to work harder to rejuvenate yourself or redirect your ambition or your sense of purpose. You may feel as if you're in no man's land right now and that you are pinned to a circumstance. But you can be too quick to assume that everything is lost because something didn't go your way, and you may start closing doors on people, burning bridges, giving up on something. When, again, you may be on the threshold of something. The worst could be over. You could be in recovery mode. Maybe there were some drastic changes. You've been dealing with something chronic, drawn out, but you could be on the verge of success. In fact, you have this Ace of Pentacles that's driving everything. So you may be getting some help. You're having to put in some hard work. For some of you, this is about health. You're going to have to focus on your physical self, your health. Maybe you're doing some workouts. You're getting more physical. But for others of you, this is about building a firm foundation, either something that provides for you security-wise, emotionally, or financially. And you could be receiving a windfall of sorts. For some of you, maybe this is going to come through the misfortune of someone else. Maybe you're going to get an inheritance. Maybe, you're going to get a salary increase, or you're going to get a new opportunity, or something about some venture you started is going to pay off for you. So there could be some good fortune where you start to win, to achieve. That flow of capital is coming that gives you some kind of advantage. You may, get some success or recognition that you've been hoping for. Maybe you're going to make some changes, make a career change, or change how you do something, or change where you are. So you're trying to plant something this month. And, this is something material, tangible. For some of you, this maybe it's a love interest. You're closing something out, this feeling of being victimized or betrayal. Maybe you're going to date someone new or do something different. There's a new focus where you are deciding to work toward financial success or fitness or health, intimacy. And for some of you, there's an opportunity to meet someone new, maybe in ways you hadn't expected, just when you're going about your daily life. Could be you meet somebody at work, or because you changed your work schedule, or maybe you meet somebody when you're working out physically, or maybe you're having to, do something where there's a repair, something expensive, a purchase of some sort. Again, you are being warned not to overextend yourself financially, but some of you are establishing yourself as a couple. You're making some decisions that may be long-standing. Maybe you decide you want to expand your family, or you're going to buy a home together, or a car, or take some dream vacation, maybe overseas. So you are trying to establish something. But for others of you, maybe there's a sense of betrayal. There's an obsession with the material or the physical side of a relationship. And either you or the other person, or both of you, are more concerned with appearances than the depth of emotion. Maybe you're in the early stages of a relationship and it's gotten off to a shaky start, and that gives you some anxiety about the future. Others of you, there's a sense of, being victimized because you built something on a flawed foundation. Maybe somebody offered help and then they withdrew it, or you're waiting for some money and it hasn't come. Something about your income is being delayed, or you weren't paid adequately for your services, or you lost something financially. Maybe somebody has misused money or possessions, or some bad investments have finally caught up to you. Maybe your plans fall through about something. You got off to a false start. And so there could be issues that, you're reaping the consequences of something rash, or a poor choice, or overindulgence, or putting it, all of your eggs in one basket. But you are also gaining some wisdom. There's an opportunity that may fall in your lap that will enhance you materially and spiritually, especially if you open up to higher self. There's an opportunity to gain some knowledge or truth and seek some inner peace about your situation. So for some of you, again, this is about making some changes that are going to pay off, and there's an opportunity, some help that could be coming to you out of nowhere. And this is going to tie to getting some clarity, repairing something, improving something connected to either your health, your work, or your domestic affairs. And it's also some conclusions to something, the end of a cycle, and seeking that success and recognition, your place in the world, your social standing, your social status. You only have one major card, the World card. So this is closing out a cycle and hoping for the best outcome. But something about your situation lacks sensitivity, could be devoid of emotion. Maybe there's even a coldness in certain circumstances. Or it could be that you are using logic to rule the day. You're not going to the emotional arena. You're relying on your thought process. You're doing some kind of a review that may tie to your finances, travel, a new job, expanding yourself, a relationship, proving yourself in some way, driving a point home, clearing yourself with regard to something. There's a call to action here combined with practicality and realism to keep things in check. So you have movement, action, responsibility, and you can expect some forward movement. The problem is that there could be some self-sabotage working. You have the drive to move forward, and then you talk yourself out of it. So there's definite movement and progression, but the question is, how long will this last? And it may tie to, again, heavy responsibilities, challenges, delays, dealing with authority figures, parental concerns that tie to your income, your resources, your values, your sense of self-worth. Now let's take a look at your money card. You have solution. The solution is at hand to a dilemma you currently face. People of influence will provide answers and assistance. So that could be that Ace of Pentacles that falls in your lap. But what's driving everything is this validation. What others think cannot be the measure of self-acceptance. The need for excessive external validation creates an inauthentic self. Your value does not depend on others. So whatever you're dealing with, whatever challenge, setback, shortcoming, shortfall, know that you still hold value personally. You're not your income. You're not your assets. You don't have to live up to anything other than what you believe you should be. Now let's take a quick look at your romance card. You have memories. So for some of you, something is tying to a pleasant shared experience, and that is influencing the here and now in your relationship. Maybe you're working on creating some memories together. Maybe you're feeling very sentimental. You're feeling nostalgic about the past. And in fact, for some of you, some old loves may reappear. But you're looking at the wisdom of something, whether maybe you're drawing on your inner guidance, you're opening to your higher self, you're seeking some peace about these memories that are tied to the past. And now your advice card is passion. Allow your heart and soul to sing with joy. So you may be opening yourself to a truth or wisdom about the past, your memories where you shared a lot of passion with someone, and you may be going over old ground.